Yes, we are boxing. We're back. Myself, my friend, my compadre, Paul Kelly. We are here. That means only one thing. That means we're in preview mode, and we've got an interesting fight taking place. We're previewing here today. We're actually in WBO international middleweight title action here, and we're actually at York Hall, Bethnal Green, the famous York Hall, with Danny DIGNUM versus Denzel Bentley. Paul, lovely to join you as usual. Lovely to have you with me. Obviously, this is well, we don't like to mess around, do we, too much? Bentley and Dingham, both names are known to British box fans, especially. So we're going to get right into it here with a couple of, I suppose, compelling and intriguing questions. The first of which, Paul, I want to challenge you with is this: Denzel Bentley, obviously, is a guy who's, I suppose, his record is kind of mixed, isn't it? Recently, obviously, he's had a loss to Nathan Haney, majority decision lost there. Won against Kieran Smith, but obviously lost to Zanibek. So a guy whose kind of career is lost obviously to Felix Cash as well. So a guy whose career has kind of been, I suppose, kind of a bit like this, really, in a way. And you kind of wonder where it's going to peak finally. So Denzel Bentley with this one, though, do you think if he loses here, though, to Danny DIGNUM, the guy who's not necessarily on the level of some of the guys he's fought previously, do you think it's win or bust for Denzel Bentley here? Do you think if he loses this fight, there's nowhere for him to go? I mean, what do you see? How big are the stakes, Paul, for Denzel Bentley, especially in this fight?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. I think to answer your question, mate, I mean, yeah, the stakes are enormous here, in my opinion, for Denzel Bentley. I think, especially after the last fight with Nathan Heaney, he was a massive favourite going into that. Apart from Nathan Heaney being a huge ticket seller, I think I speak on behalf of quite a lot of UK boxing fans, thought he was probably very limited and didn't really give him much of a chance in that fight. What do you mean? He beat Denzel Bentley pretty handily, which is came as a massive shock. Fair play to him, but then you can kind of go with the narrative: did Denzel Bentley overlook him? They just think it was going to be a walk in the park. All of these things do play a factor, but yeah, but I think it is kind of winner bust. Lose to Danny Dignam, this weekend, as you mentioned, the main event at the York Hall, and where does Denzel Bentley go? Does he want to be? Does he want to be sitting around that English up to British level kind of, does he want to be known as that guy? Lose this, I think that's maybe where he will be stuck. I think he's a relatively heavy favorite here, and I understand why. But mate, I think there is actually quite a lot riding on this fight, considering it's a comeback fight, so to speak, after the Nathan Heaney defeat. I think this is a must win for Bentley. I mean, he has to win this fight. He's only 29, so he does, have a good few years left in his career. He's not old by any stretch, but where I pose the question, where does he go if he is to lose this? Do you know what I mean? I think it's massively important for Denzel Bentley to win this fight. I don't know whether I'm putting too much on this fight. What are your thoughts, Elliot?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Paul. I think like you mentioned the age. I mean, obviously he can come again, he can have fights, but I think if you're going to get to a certain level, or like obviously he's contested, he's already fought Zanabek, lost there, obviously, but like if you want to be in those sort of bigger fights, you have to win this. So you can't lose to sort of Dane Dingham and expect to be kind of in those bigger fights at middleweight. So for me, I do think it's a must win. I think if he loses, the stock will plummet significantly. I do wonder. I mean, you've mentioned there, the dreaded R word, the McKendry retirement word that he likes to throw around, and where does the loser go in a way? I mean, would you be as extreme in your analysis that you think that actually it would be career over for Bentley if he loses this? Or, I mean, for the loser of this fight, do you see them some other sort of fights, maybe potentially in and around middleweight as well? I mean, your man Tyler Denny, you would mention him no doubt. Probably we don't like to go for a video without mentioning Tyler Denny, friend of the show, obviously. We can get him in there as well. But where do you see essentially the loser going? And for both men, or for either men, do you see it being career over potentially if they lose it?
Mentioning Tyler Denny, he's the European champion. You know what I mean? He's looking up to world honors. He's gonna be the one to beat Zanabek. Come on, we all know that. Um, but no, in all seriousness, mate, yeah, I think I don't want to go full McKendry. I don't think that's fair, especially given the ages. Neither are really, Danny Dignam's 32, Denzel Bentley 29, but it's more just it's more of the where, Denzel Bentley say he loses for argument's sake. Does he want to be fighting? Does he want to rebuild again? There'll be back defeats to fighters who you would probably say are pretty limited British level, You look at Danny Dignam, and yeah, he's only got that one defeat in his record, um, which was also to Zanabek, so that's a defeat they both have on their resume. Um, but other than that, his best wins what? Grant Dennis, Conrad Cummings, through with Sorokin, obviously, but I mean, in terms of best wins, they're probably his best wins. So, it's not you're not looking at Danny Dignum thinking he's beaten a lot of seasoned, good, stellar British level fighters, really, to be quite honest. Um, Whereas you look at Denzel Bentley and he has got a few decent wins, a few standout wins. I'm not going to throw the R word out. I'm not going to say that it's career over as such, but it's really difficult way and long road back for the loser. It wouldn't surprise me. Say Denzel Bentley got beat here. You know, I think he could wave goodbye to his Queensbury contract. To be honest, I don't think he'd be main eventing again. No disrespect, but if he's losing to Danny Dignum, I just think it's Frank Warren or George Francis Warren, whoever it is, going to be looking and thinking, oh yeah, we can rebuild Denzel Bentley back up to European fringe world level again. I don't think so. So I mean, there's a lot. Although there's kind of the two questions that you've asked me together, but a lot riding on it. But I'm not gonna say that it's career over as such.
Yeah, you know what? I fully agree with you actually, even though it's a very difficult question to answer, isn't it? Because obviously, like you said, they're both young enough that you think they shouldn't obviously retire. But then you look at the kind of British scene, even at middleweight as well, and you go, well, the loser's not obviously going to fight anyone at the top. You look like sort of Shiraz, obviously he's looking very, very different. Even the likes of Eubanks, Smith, those sort of names are not going to fight, obviously, those sort of guys. And you look at like who's around there, like say Tyler Denny, the man that will beat Xander Beck. I totally agree with you. Let's get on that. If there'll be a betting show, there'll be some odds we'll look at there later on. But I think equally, Linus as well. If he's been around, he's already fought Denzel Bentley. Like, why would you not necessarily want to see that fight again either? So for me, I think it's actually very hard to think who would you match them against that would kind of be compelling. And I think you're actually absolutely spot on. I don't think it's main event status if a loser does want to even sort of have a comeback. Like where you're going to go, you're not going to have Danny Dignum on the main event. You're not going to have Denzel Bentley as a main event again if you lose it here either. So I think it's very, very tough. I think that's I go back into also reiterate what we're saying. Really, it's really a must win, and I think to be honest with you, Bentley's also got to look quite good here, rather than just having a kind of sort of standard sort of easy victory. So I'm going to come to that, Paul, and ask you because we have to give predictions. Obviously, we don't like to sit on the fence here. And Denzel Bentley's a guy with 15 KOs and his 18 victories. Do you think that the stage is set here for another KO victory for Denzel Bentley? Do you think Danny Digham's the perfect opponent to make him look good? Or do you think that Dignum may even have a chance here? Do you think there's a chance to prevail? Do you think there's a chance to get to points? Who wins this, Paul, and how? Talk to me.
Yeah, I do think Denzel Bentley wins this. I do. You look at Danny Dignum and his one defeat was that KO to Zanabek. Of course, Bentley being beaten by him as well, but was on points. I think Denzel Bentley wins this, and I do think he wins it via stoppage. I'll probably go mid. I don't know, around 6, 7, 8, maybe. Yeah, around 6, 7, 8, probably mid to late. The range I'm seeing Denzel Bentley win this. I think he's a better fighter than Danny Dignum in majority of departments, and he can pop. We've seen that before. So yeah, I do think Denzel Bentley wins, and I think it will be via stoppage, and I think it needs to be as well, Elliot.
Absolutely. There's no disagreements here, Paul. I fully agree with you. Denzel Bentley by KO. I don't think Danny Dingham's got the power to keep Bentley off him. Like you said, Bentley's got some pop as well, and he's a better fighter. So I do think he'll stop him. I don't think, like you said, don't need to be early. Second half of the fight, definitely. I can see it somewhere around sort of 7 and 8 as well. Guys, that's all we've got time for. Myself and Paul, we are in harmonious agreement that we think Denzel Bentley will beat Danny Dignum for the middleweight title that's taking place, the middleweight title fight that's taking place, obviously, at your call. By middleweight title, I do mean WBO International middleweight title that's taking place, obviously, at your call there, just to specify. Guys, let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree, how you see this fight playing out, whether you agree with Paul and myself, it's a must-win for Denzel Bentley. Maybe even put a comment in there of who you see either one potentially fighting next, whether they win or lose, and how you necessarily rebuild and what level both fighters can go to. Paul, as always, thank you very much for joining me. And guys, as always, thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, mate.